Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's preview as Australia take on Argentina in the second last match of the 2021 Rugby Championship. And a bit of off-field drama which has influenced the selection of especially the Argentinian side, with 6 players being ruled out as well as 2 coaching staff who have been barred from playing as a result of breaking restrictions within Australia. You've got to really feel for Mario Ledesma, who has had a tough time in terms of having to travel with the side. They've basically been away from home since the beginning of August. I think they touched down literally. I think the British and Irish Lions were still in South Africa when they actually touched down. So you think at the beginning of August, we're now into October. They've basically spent, over 2 months away from home, playing really difficult games, really difficult scenarios, having to be in bye bubbles and quarantine and stuff like that. And on top of all that, they then have an incident where a bunch of players and coaches decide to cross the provincial boundary despite not getting permission and having the right documentation, and as a result being refused entry back into Queensland and being ruled out for this weekend. For Australia, we see a big name return, as the sort of the relaxation of the Ghetto law continues to sort of see a bunch of Australian stars who are on the fringes return and make their way back into the Australian side, which will only strengthen Australian rugby in the long run. Before you look at the teams themselves, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll start with the Australian side and a couple of changes, a couple of tweaks which they really can do. They've gone out and outperformed the expectations of them, and they are more likely than not going to end up finishing second in the Rugby Championship, which I think they would have been very happy with. I don't think they would have seen themselves going back-to-back wins against the Springboks. So it's been a really successful tournament for Australia. And a couple of players, a couple of changes, giving a couple of players opportunities, and a return for Sean McMahon, who makes his return. He currently plays in Japan, and he is back in the Australian squad, back in Australian colours. But if we look at the starting lineup, it's an unchanged front row. James Slipper, Falal Fainga, and Taniela Tupou will continue their sort of combination. But Darcy Swain comes into the starting lineup, and he will partner Isaac Rodda as Matt Phillip drops down to the bench. Bit of a rotational one that I've been quite impressed with Isaac Rodda, who's brought a lot of bulk and a lot of sort of grunt to that Australian tight 5. The loose forwards, Pete Salmi gets an opportunity this weekend. We saw Lachlan Swinton sort of drop out of the 23 completely last weekend, and now we've got another opportunity here to see Pete Salmi get a bit of a run out. Michael Hooper, who I personally think could be in the running for World Player of the Year, will start another test at number 7, of course, captain the side, and then Rob Valentini, the big ball carrier, will start at number 8. In the back line, the only changes there is change on the wing. Nick White will continue to partner Quade Cooper. Andrew Kellaway, however, shifts to number 11 jersey, with no Corabetti this weekend. As a result, Jordan Pettier gets a start in the number 14. The centres of Sami Karevi and Len Iketal will continue what's I think developing into quite a good partnership. And then Reece Hodge, who's come in as a result of the injury to Banks, continues to start at fullback with over 50 tests. He's got plenty of experience. And there's a lot of experience in this Australian side when you think of, James Slipper with over 100 tests, Michael Hooper with over 100 tests, Quade Cooper with over 70 tests, Reece Hodge with over 50 tests. The only sort of inexperienced players are the likes of a Darcy Swain, Len Iketal, who've got sort of less than 10 tests. Apart from that, sort of building a very nice sort of combination of experience and exciting players, as well as bringing some very big names back from sort of based overseas. On the bench, a couple of changes as well. Lachlan Lonergan gets an opportunity at hooker. It'll just be his 4th test. Angus Bellsnet on the bench again. And then Greg Holmes comes into the side, the 38-year-old, who's quite a big inclusion. He's the oldest player to play for Australia since, I think, the Second World War, something like that. Brings quite a lot of experience, obviously, at being 38 years old. He's got 27 tests under his belt as well. Matt Phillip in the 19 jersey, and then Sean McMahon, who played 26 tests between 2014 2017, will make a return to the Australian side for the first time in 4 years off the bench, wearing the number 20 jersey. Jake Gordon comes in as the reserve scrum half. We've got James O'Connor in the number 22, and then Tom Wright in the 23. So it's a very consistent Australian side. And David, I think, is getting a lot of things right at the moment. And again, being able to sort of rotate a couple of players, being able to sort of give some players a chance, and sort of test a bit of squad depth. And they've got the opportunity because they have played so well in the Rugby Championship, as well as knowing that Argentina are going to be without a couple of key players, which include the star Pablo Matera. So if we look at the Argentinian side, so the terms of the players that are not allowed to play this weekend, that is as follows. It's Sebastian Cancelera, Joaquin Diaz-Bonillo, Felipe Ezcara, Pablo Matera, Santiago Medrano, Santiago Sacchino, and then the manager Lucas Chiacarilli and the video analyst Rodrigo Martinez. So those players and managers are all going to be unavailable this weekend, will not be part of the side, will not be part of the setup. And Mario Ledesma wasn't particularly happy. At the end of the day, he said the rules were the rules and they were very clear. So not a particularly happy Argentinian coach at the moment, as you can understand. Things have been so difficult as it is. And on top of that, to then, have something as silly as breaking basic regulations for a trip to, I think it was like a health facility or something like that, just on their day off. Just stop pushing boundaries, just sort of stay somewhere. And it must be very frustrating as coach when you think we know what the rules are, we can't afford stuff up, and people do. And then they've got to have to, and then as coaches and as the team, they're the ones that sort of then face the brunt because they are without the players that they would have liked to have had. So very, very frustrating. You can understand why Ledesma is understandably very frustrated. But if we look at the side, the front row will be Rodrigo Martinez. Julio Montoya will continue to captain the side. Very consistent performance, Montoya, sort of always gives his all, and he will definitely be a major part of Argentina rugby going forward. And then you've got Enrique Pirota completing that front row. In the second row, Thomas Lavanini is partnered with Guido Petty, who comes into the side to the starting lineup. The loose trio will be Juan Martin Gonzalez, Marcus Kramer, and then Rodrigo Bruni comes in place for Pablo Matera, who, as we said, is not available. So a nice big opportunity for Bruni to sort of step up and be counted. And we saw him a little bit in the Rugby Championship, but given the Argentinian side had such a tough time, it's an opportunity for players to put their hand up and just say, when the chips are down, 2 months away, a lot of fatigue, I can still operate at the highest level. And, they can kind of sort of, in many ways, sort of prove their professionalism and their ability to perform under pressure and in conditions which don't really suit them. Gonzalo Bertrand and Santiago Claredes will continue their halfback combination. Emmanuel Baffelli will start in the number 11, and Matias Moroni will start in the number 14. The center combination of Santiago Chukabares and Lucio Cinti will continue. I thought Cinti was very impressive last weekend on the attack. Tried very, very hard, often got over the vantage line, looked to attack the space. He looked like he had a very nice defensive outfit after sort of redeemed himself after he slipped the tackle early on to concede a try to Australia. And then the fullback will be Juan Cruz Malia. And then off the bench, a couple of changes as well, necessitated by some players being unavailable. Facundo Bosch, Thomas Gallo, and Eduardo Bello will be the replacement front row. Matos Alemano and Francisco Gorison will cover the rest of the scrum. And then your backline replacements for this weekend are Gonzalo Garcia, Domingo Miotti, and Matteo Carrera. So, for Argentina, it's just a case of going out and expressing themselves. I think they've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Even a win. They just don't have a single point in the Rugby Championship so far. So at the very least, try and get within 7 of Australia. Try and get a point on the board. Try and put a sort of leave a performance out there that you can be proud of and you can take home and say it was very, very tough, but we managed to pull through right at the end and sort of show people that we still can compete at this level. Because at the moment we haven't seen too many indications that they can and that they are going to be able to sort of rectify this. Obviously, as I said, there are so many external factors, and Argentina really have been up against it for about 18 months now in terms of the Rugby Championship, and hopefully we'll see a much improved performance from them next year. But this weekend is an opportunity for them just to say, you know what, we're still around, we can still do this. Let me know what you think. The score prediction will be down in the comments below. As I said, smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel. My name is Stephen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.